review book one is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is a podcast host too, like me, survivor, and of course, podcast startup coach, no other than Mr. David McClam.
How you doing, Daniel? Thanks for having me on the show, man. I appreciate it.
I'm fabulous, fabulous, Mr. David. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure, I'm 52 years old. I do have a wife, 6 kids, 8 grandchildren, and I am a podcaster. I've been doing podcasting now for about 9 years. My current show has only been around for about three. I had to reinvent it after my daughter left my original one. So I enjoy coming on shows like yours, Daniel, and just uplifting other podcasters and sharing my story.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. David, for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Thank you so much. And let's talk about survivor centered. What or, yes, the beginning abuse often starts, uh, let's say, gruesome. Looking back, were there early warning signs or behaviors you dismiss or rationalize? What do you wish you understood then?
Well, when it came to my father, who was my main abuser, I was young. I was only 4. So when I asked my mom that same question, she said yes. After we got isolated, his whole demeanor changed, and he became more controlling. And it was the first time he put his hands on her. But by that time, she said it was, we were too late. Had already moved, and a number of threats came behind that. So as a 4-year-old child, that's when I remember my abuse growing up. Yeah, I'm now as an adult, I saw the red flags that was there that maybe she could have seen, but as a child, you can't do much in that situation.
Mr. David, abuse takes many forms like emotional, financial, psychological, sexual, or spiritual. Which non physical forms were most damaging in your experience, and why are they sometimes harder to recognize or escape?
I think all of them, but I think in my case, all of them was present. But in my case, I think financial for some people because of the fact that they don't understand or they don't know at the time they're being abused that's what the abuser is grooming you towards is financial ruin at that point. I'm the only one you can depend on. If you leave, you have no money. All the other stuff comes right in line with that, right? So it's a bunch of grooming. So the psychological and then the sexual comes in because it's more of a control mechanism. So in my case, I would say all of them that you mentioned was very present and they did happen.
Mr. David, true crime as the title of your podcast. If you relate to your experience, where you can relate it.
Um, there's a lot of cases. One that jumps out in my case was one of the burning bed that happened many years ago, where the woman was so abused by her husband that she ended up burning down the house, taking the children. She was let go from that because it was proven that she was beaten. So, in any case, that one always resonates with me with my past experiences with abuse.
How did the abuser isolate you from your friends, family, resources, or yourself? Why is it isolation such as a powerful tool for control?
Isolation is necessary because you remove that person or people that you're abusing away from any help that they would probably have. So you have no friends, you have no family around you that you can get to within, say, a 5 or 10 minutes or even an hour drive. In my case, we were moved way across the country. So there was no place that my mom or I could go to that we would know. My dad was in the military at the time. He was in the Marines. So we were stationed. So that actually made it easier for him in the isolation. Isolation is very important because if you have people to run to, then the abuse is not as effective as it would be otherwise.
Mr. David, why you did not you just live? Is it a common but harmful question? Or but were the real complex factors that made living feel impossible or dangerous for you for a time?
Well, for one, I was only 4. Yes, that question is asked all the time. Like, why couldn't your mom leave? Why didn't she go? It's probably one of the most irritating questions I get because from the outside
Yes,
looking in, people feel like it's easy just to leave. Like you can just pack your bags and be out. That's not how it works. My mom did try to leave several times. We ended up in abuse shelters for women and children. And ironically, my father ends up finding us. The systems that we have now is nothing like the systems that it was back then. So it wasn't as easy to escape and not be found. And then when you're up underneath the threat of death, and for my mom, I was the trigger. So my dad was like, if you leave and I ever find you, I'm just going to kill him. And so that control mechanism also keeps people, especially women with children, grounded for that.
definitely. Let's talk about the turning point and escape. Was there a specific moment, incident, or realization that become your undeniable turning point where you knew you had to find way out?
Yeah, I think that point came when my mom pretty much felt that he was going to kill us if we did leave, or he was going to kill us if we stayed. So we might as well try to get out. I was probably around 8 or 9 when we finally got rid of all of that. So my mom just finally found somebody that would help her with the state. And she said, I got to get out. And either he's going to kill us either way it goes. So we might as well go ahead and try. So I think once you get to that point, that you feel like pretty much you're damned if you do, you damned if you don't. That's when that survivor instinct kicks in and says, if I'm going to die here, I'm going to at least die trying to get out.
Hmm, interesting, Mr. David. Leaving is often the most dangerous time. What practical steps did you take to plan your escape as safety as possible?
I had to get away when he was not around, and then we totally relocated to a whole different state. So my mother had contacted some people that she had befriended in a different state, and we left. And that was the key because as long as we were in the same state as he was, most likely we were always going to be found. And he had Marine buddies and everybody else that was searching for us. So being able to get away from him when he didn't know and moving to a completely different state outside where we was at was keys to that.
Mr. David, at your age, do you still have the trauma of those years?
Someone who's been abused will always have the trauma that was associated with that. It all goes about what we did to try to suppress it. I did go to counseling for a number of years. I still do self work on myself. And talking about it like I'm doing here also helps and gets that out. It's like being any other thing in the world, like being a drug addict. A drug addict will tell you, I'm always going to be a drug addict, but I just live my life one day at a time. I'm always going to be someone who was abused, but I choose to be a survivor. And so that's how I survived the rest of this. I know where my triggers are. I know when I need to go and take a breather. It's all about knowing yourself too. And again, doing things like this, sharing this with other people, maybe you're helping them get out there too, also adds to my self healing.
We salute you, Mr. David, for healing yourself and for empowering people out there experience what you had experienced. Who or what become your crucial lifeline during the escape and immediate aftermath?
Always my mom. It was only the two of us. Uh, I'm where I'm at now because of her and because the sacrifices that she did make. I know she took a lot of the abuse because she didn't want her son to be harmed. Unfortunately, I lost my mom 5 years ago this September, but she's always been my lifeline. We've always been together. She's always been the one I've always went to when I had problems.
Mm, definitely. And we salute your mom too. The survival journey and healing. What was the shift like from focusing purely on survival to beginning the active process of healing, or what marked that transition for you?
When I had to learn to forgive him for what he did because forgiveness is not for him, it's for me. And I want everybody in the audience that's gone through anything like this to know that if by forgiving someone does not mean you forget, does not mean you have to like that person. But we as Americans, especially, we internalize so many things that it adds to health issues and problems down the line. So my turning point was I learned to be able to forgive him for the things that he did do, and also realize that I'm a better man than what he was. And I just want to go along and live my life uh, by helping others, and that's why I do what I do.
Mr. David, can you define us forgiveness?
I think, and for me, forgiveness is forgiving somebody for a wrong that they've done to you, but just never forgetting that. Just being able to say that, hey, even though all the horrific things you've done to me, I forgive you for that, but knowing that doesn't mean that I'm going to forget. So I think that's just forgiving is just forgiving them for the actions in which somebody else has done that they tried to control your life with.
Very well said, Mr. David. Beautifully, beautifully articulated. Rebuilding self worth. Abuse systematically destroys self esteem. How do you begin to slow vital process of building your sense of self, your worth, and trusting your own judgment again?
Just self affirmation. Just continue telling yourself that you are not the person that your abuser was. And I think it's hard on us that our kids that went through this because we always have this worry that we're going to turn out like our fathers or mothers if that happen to be your abuser. Just a self affirmation that we are better than what we were ever told that we could be, and that we are not that person. So we choose at this point to do with our lives what we wish to, and we choose the decisions that we make.
Definitely. And what tools, therapies, or practices were most helpful in processing the trauma and managing triggers like anxiety or hypervigilance or PTSD symptoms?
Always knowing where you are within those, those triggers, like I won't go to a really large crowd if I know it's going to be dealing with certain topics, something like that. So, like if I know it's going to be dealing with some type of abuse or sexual abuse, maybe I don't go to that because that would trigger my anxiety. So, I try to withdraw from those things. Also, by knowing yourself, part of my counseling was to know when you feel like maybe someone's making you angry or you may want to lash out and then what to do from there. So I've always been taught, hey, if you feel like you got to go cool down, just take a walk, you know, go out, take a walk. And then when you're able to come back, return and then handle it from there. Never try to handle something when you already feel that you're in that state of mind.
So, at your age, Mr. David, you still have the trigger.
To a degree, yes. It's really subsided because now at my age, I'm more of the let's sit down and talk about it. But there's still certain things that will trigger me. If you mess with my kids, that's one of them. Um,
Mhm.
but I've learned how to control those triggers. So when I feel those triggers coming up, I know what I need to do to make sure that those don't get out of hand.
Survivor often grieve not just relationship, but the loss of the future they envision, trust, safety, and even parts of themselves. How do you navigate this complex grief?
I think I pour everything into my children. My grief was that I didn't have a father that I could go rely on as a man, right? So I didn't have someone to teach me how to tie a tie or, go to ball games with. So I try to pour that stuff into my children and give them what I did not have. And that helps me a lot with that.
Definitely. And how did you navigate this complex grief then? In what way?
A lot of reflection, so there's certain times when I do feel it hit me. So I reflect on it, where I was, where I've been, and then I look at where I'm at now. And that I usually always pulls me out of it. You're always going to grieve those moments, especially if you're old enough to know what they were. But just take a look at where you were then and where you are now, and let that be the testament to where you've come.
Definitely. Mr. David, as a podcast host, survivor, and podcast startup coach, what are your short term and long term goals?
For my long term is actually to make podcasting and podcast production my business. I'm just starting Eyes of Justice now. The website's being made where I'm going to be able to help people not only produce their podcast, but teach them what I wish I knew when I started 9 years ago. So that's my long term production. My short term is to do what I'm doing now. Just have extraordinary people come on my show. I'll be able to tell you true crime stories that maybe will help you out and continue to come on shows like yours to spread the message. I think if one of us starts doing that, it reaches other people, and maybe people that's been through what I've been through, especially a man, would be willing to come out and tell their stories too, which just adds to the overall community.
Definitely. And good luck to your goals, Mr. David, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be a podcast host, a survivor, and as a coach as well?
Well, from the podcast hosting standpoint, if you're looking to get rich at it, you're looking at the wrong profession. You have to have, I think, the will to want to do it, and you have to be honed into what you do. Pick a topic that you know and run with that, because your audience will be able to tell if you don't know what you're talking about, and that just takes from the audience. So get into podcasting for the right reasons. As far as podcast production goes, I'm looking at starting services for people who are starting out. Right now, your average price is $100 to $200 an episode just to edit. Well, if you're just brand new, you don't have $120 an episode to edit. So I'm the person to come to that realizes that, and then I'm going to help you along the way and teach you some things that you should know as we go. As a survivor part, especially to my men out there, I know, because the way men are raised in all cultures, we don't like to talk a lot of things about being abused or things of that nature, because it makes us look weak in the eyes of some. You are a better man for coming out and sharing your experience. There's nothing wrong with crying, and you're definitely not weak for sharing your story. We've all been through it. So my advice would be, tell somebody that story, whether it's on a national podcast or just your buddy next door, and I bet you'll feel better about it at the end.
Definitely. And thank you for that advice, Mr. David. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yeah, the it's brand new, came out, but The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie. Sherry Frankie is the oldest daughter of Ruby Frankie, who is in prison now. She ran the YouTube channel Eight Passengers, and there was a wild loop of abuse that went on in that house for years. And just reading her story and what she's putting down is a page turn. I went through 5 chapters in less than an hour. It kind of resonated with me. It reminded me of some things, because her being the older child, she saw all the abuse come in. She saw the form that was taken. She saw Ruby at her early days, and yet, because of her age, she couldn't do anything about that. And then the manipulation started with the Eight Passengers channel. So I recommend that book to anybody. The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie. It's a great book.
Thank you for that recommended book, Mr. David. And how has your understanding and practice of setting healthy firm boundaries evolved since living? Why is it skill, or is it a skill so critical for survivors?
I think that it is. Yeah. I think the main skill of that is just knowing yourself, knowing where you came from, and knowing what triggers that. I will say this too, because addiction goes heavy with survivors. So I'll be the first to tell you, man, if you're not on that yet, the drugs and the bottle's not gonna help. Just by doing what I'm doing here, talking to Daniel, or starting a group, or just writing it down will help you. It is a skill of coping, and that's what I call it, that we have to learn as a survivor to stay out of whatever we can get into.
Totally. Totally skill. How did you handle people who would not believe you, blame you, or minimize your experience, or pressured you to move on?
Some people you just have to let go. You're not, there's going to be skeptics out there all the time, but your genuine story is okay. If that's what you want to think, walk away. Some people just being ignorant too. So if you
Yes.
don't believe me, or if you say that I have a reason to lie about that, then that's just you. I've learned that I have to get over some people, because the most important people that I need to worry about is those that I can help. I can't do anything about those that chose not to be helped.
Mr. David, has your experience shaped a sense of purpose, such as advocacy, supporting others, or raising awareness? How these contribute to your healing?
Absolutely. I've talked to prisons. I've talked to women's groups. I've told my story on my own podcast. I think that aids into that healing. And I am definitely an advocate. So, advocate against women being abused. I've joined several organizations for that. So, just getting involved and doing things locally, I think is one of those ways.
If you could share one crucial piece of advice or hope with someone currently trapped in an abusive situation, what would it be?
Do whatever you can to try to get out. There's so much technology now that can help you, especially if you have iPhones, it's built into where you can get help. So don't feel that you are by yourself. And now more than ever, people does believe people who are going through domestic violence. So I would say try to get out, confide in that when one person that you know that can help you.
Yes, ask for help, people, if you need help. And Mr. David and I is here. If you want to help you, how has learning from self-compassion been essential to your healing journey?
To have compassion towards others has helped because I'm able to hear their stories and I'm able to sympathize with them and pour that in there. If you don't have any compassion for anybody or anything, uh, your healing journey on its own is not going to flourish the way that you want it to. So I think compassion has led me to meet people, to help people, and to be able to hear their stories and get them out of whatever they're into.
Yes, I think it begins with you, people. It begins with yourself. Have compassion to yourself. So, Mr. David, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and mental health 101. Love letters in third season and my movie 101 review and music 101 in fourth season, and my science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Mr. David, what brings you genuine joy, peace of, or fulfillment in your life now?
I would say my family and my friends do. Just watching my kids grow up and being present with them, and also having the friends around me that care. That is genuinely what brings me joy in life these days.
Definitely. And we salute you for empowering us. Thank you for sharing your story to the world. And thank you so much for being on Book 101 Review. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your podcast, your advocacy, or any projects that you're doing right now?
Sure. So, podcasting wise, true crime authors and extraordinary people at gmail.com. Website by the same name, truecrimeandauthors.com. Also, my second podcast is Extinguished with my guest or my co host, Adana Humphrey. And very soon, I will let you guys know right on my website, odds of production will be opening pretty quickly.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. David McClam because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering episodes of the podcast itself, more and more empowering advocacy, and for sure, more and more empowering podcast coaching to come. So, Mr. David, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate it.
More to come, people. See you soon.